I am balanced and maintain a balanced lifestyle. Friend, balance isn't about doing everything, Like the whole work life balance thing, that thought, that mantra, we need to examine that because balance is actually about knowing what needs your energy, right? It's about infusing integration, discernment, and knowing when to hold on and more importantly, when to let go. We're going to delve into it today. Are you ready? Get set. Let's grow. Hey, friend. Hey, welcome back to another episode of From the Ground to the Crown, the podcast where we grow intentionally, elevate our thoughts, and step into our greatness together. Okay? I'm your girl. I'm your host, Kenesha B. And around here, we believe that alignment is the assignment. And we are going to get into balance and how that impacts our assignment today. Now, each week we root into a thought that once held us captive, right? Like had a chokehold on us. And we really examine it, pull back all the layers, and figure out how we can rise into a higher way of thinking about it. One that supports the best versions of ourselves that we are evolving into. So let's get into the inner work about balance. And of course, we're going to start the episode off with an affirmation from my Hey Friend, Hey affirmation card. And this is a deck of daily affirmations for a friend. I know I don't say this in every episode, but I am going to relaunch the cards again because they sold out last time and they were so beautiful during the first run. But I talk about them in every episode and you guys don't have access to them. So I'm going to be intentional about setting a date that I can get these to be accessible to you, right? I want them to be accessible and I will make that happen. All right, y'all. So today's affirmation is balanced. And the card says, be gentle with yourself when juggling life. It's easier to find a balance and just let things flow, friend. Don't force it, balance it. And the affirmation, again, is I am balanced and maintain a balanced lifestyle. All right, y'all. So I know that everyone may have like different definitions of what it means to be balanced. When I like to think of balance, the ism that I put that aligns with balance for me is try not to drop the things that break. That is my only focus, okay? And we'll get into what that means, but hold that in your noggin for this episode because it's going to be really, really impactful. As a woman, as a Black woman more specifically, right? This is my identity. This is like where my story comes from. We have had this curse on us that shows and tells us that we've got to carry the weight of the world because we can. And that is some bullshit, y'all. Okay, I'm here to tell you, I'm here to remind you it's trash. Okay, drop it. Drop everything that isn't glass and see how much easier and how much more restful and how much more joyful your life becomes. It is something that I don't know. I actually do know where it comes from, and it's been ingrained into our minds, our psyches, by society, by all the traumas that we've been through. It's been a part of our DNA for generations. And we're just learning how to step out of this, I gotta do it all, I'm gonna handle it all because I can curse, right? We're stepping into a phase of our lives where we appreciate and prioritize rest because we deserve to, because it is our birthright, as my girl Jazz would say. And so I want to help you today get into the season of your life where you understand what balance looks like for you, where you create a more balanced lifestyle and really start to understand how to integrate and use discernment to ensure that you aren't knocked out of balance anytime things come up for you. Balance, like I said, is really about integration coupled with this discernment. And what I mean by that is you cannot juggle everything all the time. It's like impossible to do. Whoever came up with work-life balance, we need to have a conversation because I'm over that shit too. Like, there is no work life balance. I do not want to balance my life and my work. I want to live and do some work as well, right? I want to live first. And so my life is like, I'll just step into this. I have this theory that I've borrowed because this is not my own. So, a theory that I've implemented into my life is like a juggling act. It's being able to identify what are glass balls and what are plastic balls, and then having the discernment to drop or delegate or release the things that are plastic because they won't break. But also having and also having the discernment to identify the things that are glass balls, to prioritize them, and to let it be known through boundaries and communication with others that these are my glass balls and they stay. And that has taken some practice, but it is possible to do, and it'll help you live a more balanced and more integrated life so that you don't feel like you're always being pulled in multiple directions, because that's what tends to happen, right? When we try to juggle work and life, and then you got the kids and don't have a significant other or a spouse that you've got to be considerate of, and then family and the parents, and the list goes on. You got to be a friend, you got to be a sibling. Like, there are so many things that can pull us in many directions, but we have to become more concrete and what is truly a glass ball and what is a plastic one. So, for example, glass balls can be like your relationships, health, your personal well-being, things that will absolutely not be the same and will be a significant impact to your life if they are dropped. Whereas rubber balls can be minor tasks, social obligations, and things that, although might take a little more time and a little more effort, they will bounce back if you let them go, if you release them. And so having the discernment and being able to be honest about which ones are rubber and which ones are glass is the first step in living a more balanced life. Because if you can't start there, babe, you're never going to get balanced. Okay? It's just not going to happen for you. And we want that to happen for you. So we look at integration, we look at discernment. We also can look at the difference between force and flow. I have identified through many, many experiences that when I am forcing anything, it will absolutely blow up in my face. Like, no matter how much I try to force it, no matter how many times I try to fit that square into the circle, it ain't gonna work. It just doesn't. And it takes so much out of me to be able to force things when I should be looking at the areas that feel like flow, that invite more flow into my life. And balance to me is removing all of the elements that feel like force to make space for things that feel like flow. Because when things are flowing, then you feel more balanced. It's really that simple. And I know it's like simple in theory and more difficult in practice, but not impossible. And if it ain't impossible, then we can do it, right? And so as we, like I said, just look at integration, look at discernment, look at things that are force versus flow, we'll be able to easily identify, all right, this is why my life is a little more out of balance, because I'm putting too much energy into things that feel like force. I'm not really flowing. I'm not really practicing discernment or identifying which of the balls are glass and plastic, right? Those are like the beginner stages of really being able to create a life that feels really, really good to you and feels really, really balanced for you. Like I said earlier, it is impossible to give everything your full attention all the time. And when we understand that there are seasons in our life that call for different amounts of energy from us, then we will welcome the changes that also come with that, right? For example, I am a doting wife. I love being a wife. I love my marriage. It makes me so, so, so happy. It is one of my glass balls. There are seasons that my work requires more of me than I would want to give to it. It just requires a lot of brain space and brain power and a lot of my time. However, that does not negate what I think is a glass ball, which is my marriage. Okay. So for Dean and I, we actually have Thursday night date nights, and it may switch throughout the week, but date nights are our thing. It's like important. We've been doing it for years. It has what has helped like to cement our friendship and our relationship and our marriage. And so no matter what I'm doing for work, I will make the priority to have date night. It might not be on Thursday this week. We might have to do a Tuesday because I got some work meetings or whatever the case is. But because my marriage is important, because date night is important, it becomes the glass ball, and I figure out how to integrate it into this busy work season for myself. But it doesn't mean that I say to Dean, man, sorry, I'm gonna have to cancel a few date nights because I gotta work. I don't care about that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do not love my job. I love work. I like what I do, but not more than my marriage. You get what I'm saying? And in that season, yes, I may have to change date nights. Maybe it's a week that we don't get to date night, but we got 2 date nights the week after that. Whatever it is that I have to do to integrate how I want the glass and the plastic balls to work, I am going to do so. And I will do my best not to drop anything. But if I have to do something differently, it's not going to be the thing that is tied to my marriage, because that is a glass ball. Now, let's throw a little caveat into that situation. Friends are asking, can I help them with, I don't know, business planning, right? So now I got my marriage and weekly date nights, and I got my job and the demanding schedule, and I got my friends and wanting me to show up for them. And as a friend and a wife and an employee, I would love to do it all. I would. However, once my plate starts to get full, once my life starts to have too many things, that is where the attitude of discernment and the habit of using discernment actually comes in. And I'm like, okay, what can't I do? Can I do it all? Can I give space to all these things with the fullness of myself and not show up half-assed and not, kind of be there? And if I can, cool, I will have to prioritize differently. I'll have to make some sacrifices to make it happen. However, if I can't, babe, sorry, friends, okay? It ain't gonna happen. I can't be there. Like, if it defines our relationship, if it's something that's truly important, I'll make space for it. But sometimes we put more importance on things than they need, like a lot. And the story that I'll share today is really, really focused on that. But before we get to the story, I want to get to the root questions, right? And each episode, I know I also don't explain this in every episode, but like I said earlier, each episode we root into a thought that once had us in a chokehold. So asking questions that will help us to think about where our thoughts and our habits and where these, concepts that we've created for ourselves, where they come in. And then we rise into a higher way of looking at these same concepts so that we can understand and do things differently. And that is how we evolve. So today's root questions, what I want us to consider: where do we feel out of balance right now? And what are some signs that let us know about that? Also, which glass balls have you been treating like they're rubber, and vice versa? I don't know, one or two ways that I could talk about today. And are there tasks or responsibilities that you're forcing yourself to juggle that could be delegated or dropped? I'm going to tell my own story because I've got enough of them. I don't know if I talked about this on a podcast already, but I'll tell the story. And if you heard it before, you're going to hear it again, because this one was really big for me. So I was diagnosed with a heart condition when I was 20 after a hospital stay because I was juggling all the plastic and the glass balls as if they were one. And everything dropped for me when I started having some health issues when I was in college. That forced me to jump on a Bolt bus one night after work. It was like after my 11:30 shift had ended. I jumped on the bus, no suitcase packed, no nothing, and took the bus from DC up to New York and met up with my mom. She picked me up from the bus station, drove me to Jamaica Hospital, and I was admitted immediately. And I'm sitting there in this hospital bed, all the monitors hooked up. My heart had been doing something weird for days, and I was like ignoring it. And it was so bad. It was like day 3 before I actually went home. And so by the time I got was like admitted into the hospital, I had a doctor, a Jamaican woman doctor, talk to me. And she basically expressed to me, this is her words, not mine, I have 60-year-old pork eating patients who have better hearts than you. What are you doing? And I was looking at her like, girl, what? I don't even eat pork. Like, how are these pork eaters doing better than? And I mean, no shade to the people who eat pork, but that just wasn't my vibe. I'm like pescatarian for the most part. I do eat chicken, but whatever. I lived a pretty healthy life, clean diet for the most part, but my heart was like not doing okay. And she asked me tons of questions about my lifestyle, what I was doing, and yeah, I was running myself ragged. I was in DC. I would be going to, back and forth to New York like weekly to do my hair or to check on my siblings or my mom. I was in so many organizations on campus. I was running things. I was working 3 to 11:30 at a hotel. I was dealing with a lot working on Capitol Hill, school full time. Like, I lived way too far from my job, so the commute was disgusting, and it was so hot in DC in the summers. I was just like really dragging myself through it. And so here it is. It's June. I'm in the hospital. It was actually like around Father's Day, which is also my mom's birthday. And so as I'm in this bed and I had this conversation with the doctor, and I'm like going through all the things in my head, like I don't even understand how I could be in this situation right now because I thought I was okay. She said to me, like, look at everybody right now. You're in the bed and they're okay. Do you understand what that means? That they were going to be okay whether you were in the bed or not. Like, you being in the bed has not shifted anything for them because they're not in the bed with you. And I was like, huh? Like, I didn't really understand. But then she gave me some options. She said, I could probably guarantee that you're probably going to need like something she said, you're going to need a heart monitor, right? You probably will most likely have a heart attack or something if you don't change your life before you're 30. And that is like not okay. And she said, I don't even know how long the heart would last. That's like best case scenario. And she said, or you can meditate. You can like cut all the activities off. You might need to quit your job. You can start telling people no. You need to implement. And she like just ran through it. And I have so much appreciation for that as a doctor because she could have got me on medication and be like, oh, you be all right, drink some water and be on my way. But she was really invested in me being healthy. And she really laid it out for me in the clearest of ways without my parents around, without anybody to hinder how I was receiving it. She told me the truth. And that shit woke me up. I was on a rampage after that, yo. I promise you, I was telling everybody no. I literally did quit some things. Like I had to stop drinking coffee because the caffeine was like doing weird things to my heart. And like I said, I was diagnosed with a condition that I do have under control, but there are moments, and this is one of the signs when I know my life is out of balance, is that my heart will start to palpitate the way that it did when I was diagnosed. And that is a tall tale sign for me to rest immediately. But now that doesn't happen as often because I never let myself get to that point. And you want to know why? Because I cannot tell my heart to keep working if it want to stop. That's like, how do you stop your heart from attacking you? I have no idea. And that was the scariest thing for me is I have no control over what my heart wants to do once it's doing what it wants to do. Like I can control it now. I can do the best I can. But if it decides like tomorrow, hey girl, we giving up. You doing too much? Then I'm asked out. And it's like, what can I do? And I never wanted to be so helpless again. And so I had to start looking at where my life was not balanced and pulling out the signs, like the sleepless nights, like my eye twitching, like my heart palpitating, like the not having an appetite, like a normal appetite. I had to pay attention to all of those things and really start to point out which activities, what habits were tied to me feeling the way I did not want to feel. And so I had to examine which things in my life were glass versus rubber so that I could discern what I didn't want to do anymore. And a lot of the activities that I thought I needed to do, I just didn't need to. A lot of the checking up and going back and forth to New York and like working myself to the bone to just show up, I could not really do anymore. Like, honestly, I just couldn't handle it. My heart was attacking me. And when people were sad about me saying no or they felt some sort of way, I'm like, it's either you or my heart attacking me. You can't trust you like you can't think that I would choose you. I'm going to choose my heart not attacking me, right? It's like that's clear. And so that became my driving force into creating a more balanced lifestyle for myself. And I know that's a drastic ass story, and that does not have to happen to everybody, but you don't want the universe to give you a signier sign when it comes to learning to balance your life. You don't want it to take a health issue or a major concern or a death or any of those things that sometimes happen, right, to us to get us to wake up. You don't want those things to happen for you to do something. You do something while you can and not when you're forced to. And that hurts a little less, you know? The next question that I want to kind of examine during this route is, are there any task responsibilities that we're forcing ourselves to juggle that could be delegated or dropped? If you don't know, I'm also a life and business coach, and I've worked with many clients, specifically Black women, on their journeys to living the lives of their dreams, to reclaiming their power and like stepping into the highest versions of themselves and for their businesses. And a lot of clients that I work with, they are like powerhouses. They do so much. They got it together. They started this business, started from the bottom. Now we here type vibes, right? And when I work with them, it takes time for them to trust me. And that's fine, right? Because they don't know me. They don't have to. But what I tell them is, if you want this business to grow, you have to let go. If you want it to grow, you have to let go. We start to look at the strategy, the processes. Like, I create SOPs for everything so that they can get out of their minds the ways that they like their business to run. So then we can identify which pieces of their business can be run by someone else. Like, you sending out all the emails all the time, girl. Come on. You got to do every package, every order yourself, sis. Come on. You like, there's so much automation, there's virtual assistants, there's all these things. And I love when my clients trust me enough to help them identify which things are their rubber balls in business so that they can then delegate them to somebody else who does the task really well. Because if you want to be great at business, you stop working in your business and keep working on the business. You have to stay working on the business and not in the business. You got to step away from it and pull back so that you can see how to grow it. And that takes a lot. It takes a lot of trust and it takes some time, but you get there. And so any of my clients can attest to the fact that when they started working with me, they probably were not as comfortable with the ideas of someone else doing their job, right? The thing that they started doing from the beginning. And by the time they're done working with me or are transitioning to the next phase of their business, they're like, I can't even imagine myself doing it anymore. Because, yeah, sis, why would you? You're a CEO, babe. You don't have to do it. And so we can also do that in our daily lives, right? Looking at the tasks and responsibilities that maybe we can assign to AI. Hello? Chat GPT. Okay, there's some automation out there that can help you. Or maybe you give it to someone who's better equipped to do the task. Or you delegate it to a family or friend who can help you and support you through it. Whatever it is. But if you're unable to even look at the processes and look at the things that you're doing and look at the responsibilities that you have, how the hell are you going to delegate? How are you going to figure out what you could drop? Because you don't truly need to be holding on to everything that you're holding on to. Like, you don't. And I promise you, if we went through your life together, we'd come up with a list of things where I'm like, hey girl, that's not for you. You know, it's not. Let it go. And yeah, you might grit your teeth through it, but once you do it, baby, you're going to love how you feel. You're going to love the space that it opens up for you, right? Now, I know I said this earlier, but the tools that help you to be more balanced in your life, to find the flow in life and not the force, are centered around delegation, integration, and boundaries. That's the next thing I wanted to add into the conversation. So you got your discernment piece, right? Knowing what's to give your energy for, knowing what you don't have to give energy to. You've got the delegation, identifying the areas of your life where you don't have to do it. You can pass it on, or you could automate it, or some other way to get it done. Not that it doesn't need to get done, but that you per se don't have to get it done. calendar invites, accountability, paying someone else. Okay. Another example of that, I like the house to be cleaned. I love when my house is clean. It helps me to think. I see better. I'm able to be more innovative. I feel lighter when my house is clean. I just don't have the space to clean it all myself. Dean and I are just not going to do it as often as I want. So we hire a cleaner. That is a requirement for my life. I've hired cleaners for the past 8-9 years, I just like when other help me. It's one of the things that I don't want to do, but I need to get done. Yeah, so I pay somebody. I work enough. I budget enough. I'm disciplined enough to have someone to clean up for me, with me, right? Not daily, but bi-weekly, so that I have more balance to do other things because I'm not worried about cleaning. And those are the mature and more, the higher, more aligned ways that we can delegate and release what we need to get done in order to focus our energy on what actually requires us to show up there. You know what I mean? Okay, guys. I know that was a lot for the root segment of the question, but really just wanted to examine the glass balls versus the rubber balls, because that is, I think, the most difficult area of discipline is being honest about what is glass and what is rubber. And a lot of times, just the human in us, the being, wants to be of importance in everything that we do. And it's not that we aren't important, it's that some things aren't as important as we make them out to be. Like, for example, when I went to college, I was hella distraught. I was happy as hell because Howard, come on, right? But I was so distraught to leave my mom and my sisters. I was like, man, they're going to crash and burn without me. It's like I have my hands on too many things. They're not going to be okay. I don't know what they're going to do. I was so concerned about that. It really had me stressed out up until the heart attack thing. And then the heart attack thing happened, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't do as much as that. I can't go home as much. I can't show up as much for them. I can't, because I'm in DC. First of all, I'm not even in the same state. And I don't have money to keep going back and forth like this. And it's taking a lot of my energy. And so I stopped going home as often. And you know what the hell happened? Nothing. The people were fine. They figured it out. Here I am with my big and bold egotistical self, thinking that I had this big magical power in their lives and I was so impactful to them that without my presence, they'd be lost. Girl, bye. Okay? People gonna figure it out whether you're there or not. Your job, they gonna figure it out. Your kids gonna figure it out, unless they're babies, then they won't. You need to help them. Your man, he gonna figure it out. Your girl gonna figure it out. Whatever. Everybody, mama, daddy, everybody, they gonna figure it out. And sometimes you have to prove to yourself that they can do it without you by dropping the rubber balls. Everything does not really truly require you. And sometimes we want to be so a part of it that we make ourselves more important in the situation than it needs to be. And that really is like an ego move, right? It's not your life. It's not a requirement for you to do, but you've made it a requirement for you. And you examine that. And when you get to the bottom and the root of that, you realize that is ego talking. It does not require you as much as you think. And give it a try. Try to see how it is without you. And if it's okay, whether you are a part of it or not, then my girl, let it go. Okay, drop that rubber ball. And that is really how you know. And identifying those glass balls are the things that are truly tied to you, that are part of your thing, your life, that fill you up and make you feel good. And like my marriage and date night, without that, I don't know who I'd be. It doesn't make me feel good to even think about that. And so that has become a glass ball for me. My relationships are glass balls. My content, my podcast is a glass ball for me. These are things right now in this season of my life that I hold near and dear to me, and they're not things that I'm willing to drop. And so when I am brought with other responsibilities and tasks, I'll have to identify whether they're glass or rubber. And if they're rubber, do I need to be a part of it? To what frequency? Is it something that somebody else can help me do? How can I delegate it? Or I don't need to worry about that shit because that's not for me. Like I don't care. Whatever. I just focus on trying not to drop the things that will break, you know? And that is where I want us to get to for our rise segment of the conversation. I want us to understand that balance is not static, it's dynamic. It shifts, it changes, it morphs a lot depending on the seasons of your life, right? Like at one point in time, I was single and I was just doing my thing. And I had different tasks and responsibilities, and balance looked differently. And then I got married, and balance looks differently. And there'll be another phase. I'll be 40 and balance will look differently. And 52, balance will look differently. It is not one thing, and you should not hold yourself to that one thing just because it once was. It is normal for your balance to be dynamic and to shift with the season and with the years and with the stages of your life. It's supposed to. And we have to be flexible and open enough to be able to recognize that for ourselves and to shift and flow with it when it comes. So remind yourself that some seasons require more work and some seasons require more rest. Okay. Some seasons I'm a worker bee. Don't stop, won't stop. And some seasons, babe, catch me on a beach. Catch me living in Thailand. Catch me rested, real cutesy, okay? Because I'm not working hard. I'm working smart right now. And even in this season of my life, I recently had a conversation with one of the coaches that I work with, and she said something to me. She said, Kenesha, just because you could work at a 10 doesn't mean you should. She's like, you actually could work at a 20, and you like to work at a 10 sometimes. But this season, I'm thinking that you might want to work at an 8. And I was like, she's right. Because I'm a fire sign. I'm a Leo sun, Leo moon. I got Scorpio rising, y'all. I got enough fire to sustain me. Like tons of fire energy in my chart. Tons of Capricorn energy. Work hard energy in my chart. And I will. Clearly, I will exhaust myself to a heart attack. But in this season, just because I can doesn't mean I will. I'm working at an 8 right now because I know that I have to conserve my energy for what is to come. And so I can't be giving all of it right now, even though I can and I want to sometimes. I don't. Another question that we want to examine for the rise segment is, how do you know when you're in a state of flow versus force? What does it feel like in your life? How do you feel when you are in a flow state? I know for me, I'm more jovial. I'm happier. I'm lighter. I'm light all the time, but I'm like even brighter, right? I shine differently when I'm in a state of flow. And when I'm in a state of force, I am definitely darker. A little more quick. The wit is a little snappier. Yeah. It's like when I'm hangry, y'all. I am Danny DeVito from the Snickers commercial when I'm hangry. I'm not the 1 or the 2. Okay. But when I'm fed and I'm happy and I'm in flow, man, it's like being with a kid. I just want to have fun. And so look at your life and start to figure out, how do you feel? How does it look for you when you're in a state of flow versus force? The last part of the rise is, what does balance look like in your life when you feel most at peace? Yes. Because being at peace is the ultimate goal, isn't it? So that's the goal for us, is to feel at peace and to examine our lives and see the moments and times where we feel at peace and how easy it is for us to balance, integrate, juggle things, We're going to stop this episode here. There's so much that we can unpack when it comes to balance, but I talked a lot and I want to reflect on what I spoke on, and then I want to leave you with some reflection questions. Basically, what we said today, balance is not a thing unless you're coupling it with integration and discernment, okay? And some boundaries as well, because you got to be able to tell people no. You have to be able to put things in place for yourself, and you have to be able to prioritize you over many other things, or prioritize the glass balls over the rubber ones, the plastic ones. The focus of balance is to try not to drop things that can break. That's it. Integrating the things that you can do with the things that you can delegate or drop or release. And then being able to feel at peace about what you're doing and what you're creating. Knowing that it's seasonal. That balance is dynamic. That it will shift. And you just have to learn how to shift in it. It's like that book. What is it? Metamorphosis I don't even know I can't remember the childhood book, but on the cover they will always morph into the from animorphs. That's what it is, animorphs, right? So basically, you got to become an animorph over time, and that's what you do in balance. You start from one stage, and you start to explore how it looks to morph into this higher, more balanced version of yourself. And if you're not old enough to know what those books are, go Google it. Okay, they were great at the Scholastic Book Fair. I had a few. But yeah, you have to just morph into this version. You have to create it, and it's very dynamic, and it'll look different with every season. But you just show up as your highest self. You show up and identify the glass balls. You identify the rubber, plastic ones, and you release and delegate what you can. And that's balance. And it looks different for everyone. So don't try to replicate or copy other people's balance because it won't work for you. You just take what they can. You take what you like that they introduce you to or that they do. And you're like, that feels like I can do that. And you try it. And if it works, cool. You add it to your arsenal. And if it doesn't, you put it in the suggestion box that we talked about from a previous episode. Put that in the suggestion box and you leave it there until you might need to examine it. And if you don't need to examine it and it doesn't work for you and it has no bearing on your life, you drop that shit immediately because it'll take up space. And you don't need that either. So let's reflect. What's one thing you've been holding on to that you're now willing to release? Okay, after I said all that I said today, you gotta have one thing that you can identify that you're like, you know what? I don't need to be doing that no more. I could hire somebody to do that. One of these kids about to do that. I'm gonna get an intern. Or I'm going to ask a friend to help me. Or I'm not doing that shit no more. What's one thing that that you've been holding on to that you are no longer willing to and you will release? The next thing to reflect on is how can you protect your glass balls this week? What are the things that are your glass balls? What are the things that are like you're not going to drop because they will break and that is too important to you? And how can you be more protective of those glass balls this week? Maybe it looks like identifying what they are. And maybe it looks like telling somebody else what they are. I don't know. But figure out what they are and how you can be more protective of those. And then lastly, identify one small action you can take today to shift into a more balanced and integrated lifestyle. And I know we talked a lot about integration, but seriously, things should be merging for you. And if it feels like you're stuffing the squares into the circle peg, stuffing the circle pegs into the square or whatever it is, then that is the force that you need to stop. And you need to figure out how can you shift the circle pegs to get to the circle hole. Because it's not going to go in. No matter how much you try, no matter how hard you want it and wish it and will it, it won't. And you need to do something differently. So where can you identify one small action that you can take today or this week until we meet again to shift into a more balanced and integrated lifestyle? I hope that this episode has been so filling to you. I hope that it's come right on time for you. And I know this was a good one, friend, because I also need this conversation about balance every now and then. Remember, balance isn't about juggling everything. It's about protecting what truly matters, protecting those glass balls, right? It's about letting things that are unnecessary fall away and flowing into what life is calling you to step into the most. So once you integrate, once you discern, once you figure out what's glass and what's rubber, and once you like flow into where you're headed, right? Like swimming upstream, then you truly can own that you you are balanced and maintain a balanced lifestyle. And it's not impossible. It can be done. All right, loves. If today's episode resonated with you, one, please share this with somebody else who needs a reminder, because I know we're not out here by ourselves, okay? Somebody else needs a conversation and needs a little kick in the butt to create a more balanced and a more integrated lifestyle. And after you share this with a friend, make sure, if you haven't already, you are subscribed on Spotify, Podcasts, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts to From the Ground to the Crown so that you don't miss the episodes that I drop weekly. I love you for being here. I'm so proud of you for showing up for yourself. I am so excited to know more about the glass versus rubber balls in your life and how you are taking small steps to live a more integrated and balanced lifestyle. I'm out of here, y'all. I'm about to go eat because I'm hungry. Remember, if it don't align, you can decline. You must decline. But also, balance is just trying not to drop the things that break. Love, love, love. I'll see y'all soon. Don't forget, if you're ready, get set. Let's grow.